I gotta be honest with you guys. I don't really like driving. It feels as if everyone is trying to kill you everywhere you go. Maybe some old geezer is taking 15 business days to cross the street when I want to make a turn. It's horrible. When I think about driving, I think about going at breakneck speeds, drifting some tight-ass turns, becoming one with the car, and not having to worry about some dumbass kid getting on the road while I go at 200 miles per hour and having to pay some legal fees afterwards. But no, it's not like that. Man, if only there was something that could give me the adrenaline rush I desire. Wait, this isn't R4, what the fuck? To be honest, I'm not sure what was my first exposure to Daytona. I've been gaming for pretty much my whole life up to this point, but Daytona was always something I heard about in passing. It makes sense though. I didn't grow up in the 90s and gaming at home was a lot more accessible to the masses. My only experience with arcade gaming was whenever I was heading to the laundromat with my grandma to play some Marvel vs. Capcom while sniffing detergent, or going to the movie theater and playing some Tekken 5 before I watched the Lorax. It wasn't until I got Sonic Racing Transformed where my intrigue for the game started to develop. You see, in the game there's a character called Aegis, and it just had this sick ass car in the front. I literally grinded the game and its missions just to get this one character, and it was worth it. Driving this car was great. After I finished, I figured I should check out what was so special about it, that it was included into a crossover game with the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog. So I headed into an arcade, I played it, and holy fuck. But before we talk about the game itself, we should briefly talk about Sega AM2, the team behind it. They've been developing for Sega since 1985, and they were actually a pioneer in 3D gaming, with both Virtual Racing and Virtual Fighter especially. The two games were both developed on the Sega Model 1, the company's first arcade board that could produce 3D graphics. Now, these two games were incredibly revolutionary, but they couldn't just stop there of course. Their competition was starting to catch up to them, so they had to one-up everybody. So they developed the Model 2, which, to put it briefly, was better in every way than its predecessor. Sega saw that AM2 made some pretty good use of the previous hardware, so they thought, yeah, fuck it, make something good for this newborn, so we can show these damn cocks who's really the boss. So AM2 thought, well, our first game for the Model 1 was a racing game, why don't we do that again but better? And with Toshihiro Nagoshi leading the project, they made this. Ah man, where to start? Visually the game still holds up well. The colors are vibrant, the cars look like real racing cars with unique liveries for each one, and courses detailed enough to look like IRL environments. Well, except the Sonic over here. I guess Marvel Sun didn't treat him so well. The game has 3 tracks all in varying levels of difficulty. The beginner-friendly 3-7 Speedway, the advanced Dinosaur Canyon, and the toughest Seaside Street Galaxy. Next you have to choose your car, in which you have 2 options. But before I explain the difference between them, I need to explain something to the non-car nerds like myself, and how gaining speed works. To get from 0 to max speed, the car must switch between what's called gears. No, not these gears, these ones. The first 2 gears have a fast acceleration but low speed cap, while the last 2 have lower accelerations but higher speed caps. This means the most efficient way of getting to max speed is by changing gears in order, and the way you change gears is what differentiates the 2 cars. Automatic changes gears automatically, allowing for a more beginner-friendly, less stressful ride, while manual lets you switch between them at your own will, meaning more control over the car. The game even rewards manual users by giving a slightly higher max speed. Okay, nerd shit over, let's move on to the tracks. Let's start with the first one. This is the only course where you start at max speed, and the one with the most racers, totaling up to 40. The track itself is actually really simple. It looks like a generic round course at a glance, but with added flares to make it feel more Sega-y, Sega core, if you will. This track seems to be licensed by a casino since there are multiple references to gambling! I love gambling! Let's go gambling!
99% of gamblers quit before they hit it.
Take the bet! Take the bet! Take the
on black,
all
baby.
on black, baby! Let's fucking go! Oh god, I'm in so much debt.
Oh dear God.
As mentioned before, Sonic is just here on the side of the rock. And what the fuck is this? 1984? Sega always seems to make references to casinos, which I find pretty interesting. Does anyone know why they do that? If you know the answer, then leave a comment down below. Anyways, as a beginner, it's great. Nothing crazy, it's just a round track with one sharp turn towards the end, but it's perfectly designed for a new player. First off, this is the only course that begins with the rolling start, which means you'll start at max speed, giving the player a sense of how fast they can go if they play well. Second, there are a bunch of cars around you which, although can be a hassle, will teach the player how to slipstream. Slipstreaming is when there are multiple cars traveling at high speed, with one of them behind the other. We'll call these cars Car 1 and Car 2. Now, thanks to physics, which I'll not get into right now, because of how fast they're going and the positioning of the vehicles, Car 1 is sucking the speed of Car 2 and is therefore able to go much faster than its base speed, allowing for Car 1 to surpass Car 2. It's basically an IRL comeback mechanic. This is why you'll see the car surpassing its max speed limit most of the time. And since there are 39 other cars, you can use them to blitz through the placements. And this mechanic isn't exclusive to Daytona alone. It's in pretty much every other racing game. Hell, it's even in Mario Kart. The last thing this course teaches you is the importance of slowing down or drifting. Remember that harsh turn towards the end of the lap? Well, if you try completing the turn at the max 201 miles per hour, you'll just There are many turns in this game that will punish the player if they don't cool the engines, and this is my favorite part of the gameplay. Drifting feels very satisfying to achieve in this game, and this is because the car feels like an actual car. With hundreds of pounds of metal you have to swerve around. In other games, the car almost feels like a toy that could do a sharp turn on command. And sure, those are fun in their own right, but here, it feels like you're taming the beast, working together to get to the finish line. But besides that one turn, this course is very easy, and is still fun to return to, as you increase your skill level thanks to its emphasis on slipstreaming. Okay, that took a little while, but now that we have all of the handling talk out of the way, we could get through these courses a little quicker. Next up is Dinosaur Canyon, and your first thought might be, ooh, so did we pass some dinosaurs then? I mean, yeah, but they're kind of dead. The first thing that's different is that you start at a standstill, and the number of racers gets cut in half. Guess you could say they were, too slow. Hey, I'm still stuck here. Can I get help, please? Now, to gain speed, you could just press on the gas and do it that way, but there's this one simple trick that Big Daytona doesn't want you to know about. It's called the rocket start. If you hold the brake and press the gas till it's around the 6 or 7 mark, and let go of the brake once the light turns green, you'll start with a boost, so you're able to get an early lead on most of the racers. From there on, it's just going through a straightaway and doing multiple turns, rinse and repeat, race is done. The course, I feel, tests your drifting consistency as well as how you can handle various lengths of drifts, because there is both a short and large turn. The visuals are evocative of driving on a cliffside of a mountain, like you're going on a road trip for the weekend. It also reminds me of when Peter Griffin fucking killed himself. Also, there's this funny Easter egg where if you drive into this little dead end here, it just tells you to fuck off. I don't know where to put this, but did you know? This game has pit stops. This is in case your tires start to erode heavily, or if you want to fix your car after getting banged up in a crash. But it's actually completely useless. The other cars will just pass you by, and sure, your tires will erode, but you'll have already finished the race before they make any significant handling changes. And the damage to your car doesn't even affect anything gameplay wise, so why would you stop here at all? You're just pissing in the bucket while everyone is getting laid. Maybe you wanted to down a pack of fruit snacks before hitting the road again. I mean, I get it. I'm probably the same. Then there's the last track, Seaside Street Galaxy, and no, you aren't in space for this one. They just put Galaxy in there because they thought it sounded cool. This is the hardest track in the game, since it's the most forgiving. Once again, you start at a standstill with now only 30 racers in total. There's this long bridge that sort of reminds me of Golden Gate. Then you drive through this urban area with a few large buildings towering over you, and roads that were closed off purely for the race. Zigzag your way until you find the Jeffrey statue, Jeffrey being a character in the hit game series Tekken. a lighthouse, a Sega Model 2 advert, where afterwards you'll finish what is probably the hardest turn in the game. This place is neat. It reminds me of Florida with its tropical vibe, the palm trees, and the biggest fucking seagull in gaming history. What the hell? You're gonna be struggling a lot here, but once you get it down, oh man, it feels like you're gonna come. It feels amazing. It's hard to describe what makes it so hard. You don't learn anything new here, it's just the perfect test of your skills and whether or not you're able to take the heat. I haven't talked about the music too much, but this game has a banger soundtrack. It was produced by Takanobu Mitsuyoshi, a legendary composer at Sega. He's worked on other franchises such as Virtua Fighter and the Yakuza series, and hell, even got into Smash Bros. And he started gaining recognition after Daytona was released. Of course, there's the iconic but my personal favorite is the song for Seaside. It's ironically the most chill song in the game, with the city pop feel that coincides greatly with the tropical vibe, to create a nice atmosphere where you can't help but feel good. Also, the lyrics are very cheesy, but it's okay. I love it anyways. Just don't let Fantano get a hold of this. Hey guys, Editing Blob here. I just wanted to come here and discuss some things I didn't get in my script, or I didn't really know where else to put it. So the version of Daytona USA I'm using is the one that was released on the PS3. This came out around 2011, so it's a little old now, and as far as I know, it hasn't been re-released on like any modern consoles, not even like the port. No PS4, no PS5, Xbox One, all that. But it is considered to be the best version of Daytona. It keeps intact the arcade visuals with just a few enhancements, as well as some extra modes like a challenge mode, online multiplayer, and even a karaoke mode if you really want to do that. The other thing I didn't mention is how you could change the camera. On the PS3 version, it's basically you just use the D-pad, and then whichever direction there's a different camera. But on a cabinet, you'd see like 4 colored buttons that all correlated to a different camera mode. And I believe that should be it. Editing Blob out! Now, there is a point where if you played the game long enough and you're able to consistently win every race, you'll start to feel a bit unfulfilled, as if you know this isn't where it should end. While writing this video and revisiting the game, at some point my mind just clicked, and a primal need, a primal urge even, for speed just started to kick in. I started thinking about how I'm positioning myself on the track, how I can maintain a good slipstream without bumping into anything, how I could reduce the amount of speed I'm losing whenever I'm drifting. Now the good thing, or bad, depending on how you view it, about this game is that there is no ending really. You can end whenever you want, like maybe when you win all 3 races, or hell, even just the first one. But for some people like me, we don't want it to end. You see, one of the things I like about video games is being able to master or understand the game's mechanics. I love games that encourage replayability, like say a racing game, and it's why I like the Sonic games. Fighting games can also fall into that category, since while there is sometimes a story, the ones who are dedicated strive to be better and stronger. I've almost never been one to play a game for its story. It's why I've never liked JRPGs before, where I feel its systems are a little too boring or too slow for me. And I bring all this up because Daytona checks off all of these boxes. There is no story, the gameplay is simple yet engaging, the music is grooving, and there is no true finish line in your journey. It's just pure, unadulterated fun. And people who are still playing today after 30 years were just addicted to that need for speed. Hey, wait a minute. That's a reference to Ridge Racer Type 4!